Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, hosted by me, Mal McCallion, and my good friend Matt Goddard. How are you, Matt?
I'm great, Matt. It's really good to be together early in the week. You'll be surprised at how many people were chasing me up to find out where the podcast was last week, given our slight delay while we got together in that lovely garden in central London.
Yeah, we can pretend that we were actually waiting for that moment of joyous kind of union, but actually we just couldn't find any other time to do it, really. So sorry to everybody. But tomorrow, so we're recording this on Monday, the 21st July. This will be back at our usual time on Tuesdays. Thank you for caring, first of all. Yes, we are going to be back on schedule as of this week. So let's first of all talk about what's happening in property news this week. Okay, this week we're going stateside again. Real bruising going on between some of the big players out there. So we've got Zillow still fighting against Compass, particularly about Compass's plans to withhold content from Zillow's site until they are good and ready. And that now has escalated into Zillow accusing Compass of a hidden listings scheme and suing them basically for not allowing their listings to be featured on Zillow. This is all getting pretty serious, right?
It's really tasty, isn't it? And obviously, as any good fight has, there's another person weighing into the battle with Andy Florence from CoStar chipping in and telling agents not to be bullied by Zillow in this instance, isn't there? I think no one's really saying where this is all being, the flames are being fanned from. And it's really all based around getting your content into the AI systems, isn't it? It's really, it's not what mentioned at all in any of these boardroom papers and in any of the lobbying that's going on, but that's really what is stirring this fight on.
So true. And it's exactly that. So everybody is looking ahead and thinking the key thing here is content. We absolutely have to make sure that we have access to the latest property data, because if we don't, then guess what? Home buyers are just going to not bother coming, right? They're going to find where they're going to sniff out where the most recent property data is going to be coming in. So if Compass is ring fencing it and Zillow can't see it, then has got problems, because suddenly Zillow is no longer the monolith that everybody has to go to. But then if Compass has got it and then it's a bit fragmented, then actually, where do you go? Do you have to go to Compass and also to Zillow? So it's so funny, as you say, that they're playing this whole moralistic thing as well, where Zillow's saying, "Oh no, we're on the side of buyers because buyers need to be able to see all this stuff in one place," and then Compass is saying, "We're on the side of sellers because we want sellers to be able to dictate where their properties are advertised, etc." So it's just, yeah, it's almost a comedy, because, as you say, that the real elephant in the room is who gets the data.
Yeah. Yeah, and who gets it first? Who gets that priority, that domain authority? And we already know that the large language models timestamp when the content first arrived and add weighting against it. So if you want to be that source of truth, as it were, you need to own it. And Compass is trying to make that move, and Zillow's fighting hard to keep it, isn't it?
And it's going to be so interesting, because I can't imagine that elsewhere in the country or in the world, that when people start to realize that this is this important, this critical to their futures in the world of AI, I just think these kind of battles are going to blow up all over the place. So it's going to be really interesting.
I know we've touched on it before, but obviously down under, REA has made a move into the social media side. So writing into their terms and conditions that agents have to advertise on social media, but via the REA social media accounts. And that, again, is a big data play, or data, as they say over there, to make sure that it's all passing through. Because then you don't just get the property data, you're getting the social economic data of the people who are looking at those properties, which becomes even more powerful.
It's a huge plan, and a real kind of, it's a bully move, because essentially, yeah, I think it's Listing Logic, something like that, who are also out there, have been working really hard helping agents to do all this sort of stuff. And then they're trying, and what REA Group is systematically trying to do is basically to deflate that kind of competition and make sure that actually they are the only place that you can start your social media campaigns, which to me is, yeah, it's a thin end of a very large wedge, I think.
Yeah, no, completely.
Okay, yes, there is all sorts going on over in the States in the portal space, but just wanting to bring it back home and talk a little bit about Foxtons, your old crew. Matt. There's some agitated shareholders, isn't there, who really would quite like Foxtons to be sold right now for a premium.
That's it. It's one of the major Shareholders, who I believe is actually taking an even bigger stake in the Foxtons Canadian group, Convermium Capital, if I said it right, and they're agitating to look at them being sold. And you sometimes think, are they too big to be acquired by some of these groups? But if you look at it, Foxtons are around 50 offices within London and a few outside of it now with their various acquisitions of Haslam's and the old Guildford and Woking offices. But they're still at that sort of size where we saw KFH at the end of last year being acquired by Lohman. So it's not beyond the realms of reason to see them being acquired by one of the big agencies that is hoovering up various people, or even another private equity house, in the same way that who's the one that came in for Dexter's? Oak Tree Capital, was it?
Yeah.
There's no reason that another PE house wouldn't move in, and it seems to be that very quickly everything's becoming in our industry private equity owned, right?
Yeah, everything's up for grabs. Yeah, and all those kind of certainties that you used to have about this obviously can't be sold because it's too big or whatever. These all of these businesses are now seen as very attractive and cash generative, potentially into more and different services further down the line. Yeah, you could see that it would be a big move for the likes of Lomond or Dexter's or whoever to come, or LRG, to try and get it, but it would be an absolute crown jewels. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a business like this does not come onto the market very often, and you would throw the absolute kitchen sink at it to try and acquire it. But yeah, but it's doing really well. The guy Gittins has absolutely transformed it, backed by the likes of Peter Rollins and others, into what Foxtons used to be.
On back to basics, to
Yeah.
use a well-known phrase. And as I saw the new fleet of minis, which for some reason didn't make it into our show notes last week, but the rebrand is on. Like when I first moved to London 2003, we did a rebrand of the minis every year. It's from the flames on the front when I started through to the love and summer hippie one with the flowers on the side of them, right the way through to someone reminding me of the X-ray skeleton mini. And the latest one was just hit roads, and I think there's about 500 minis now. Whereas Guy said when, or maybe it wasn't Guy went back in, but certainly when Peter went back in, there was 50 minis and a whole host of yellow smart car type things buzzing around London. So it's good to see the brand restored to where it is, and with it, the business.
Yeah, look, I always think the competition, standing out, having a brand that means something is great, regardless of whether you agree with particularly what it means or not. I just think that competition, that kind of bravery, and willingness to just be out there and be who you are, I think is phenomenal. And I think it just enables consumers to make proper choices. And
Mhm.
that to me is really important. Yeah, no, I love the fact that they've done what they've done under Guy. I think it's, yeah, if I was a shareholder in it, I'd just let it roll.
Mhm.
They are on a steep growth curve. They're obviously acquisitive themselves, as you say. And so I just let them carry on and just, yeah, kick back and let the guy what they're doing do what they're doing.
And we're the really strongly positioned as well, is because of Boss and everything that's been built in there from a systems point of view. The data's in a strong place to really maximize the opportunity with the AI as well, which I'm sure they will be doing with the team like Imran and the rest of them in there.
Yeah, I agree strongly. I think that they've got enough very smart people knowing exactly what proprietary data and what the relationships mean, that they wouldn't be distracted by some other people talking about AI in different terms. I think that they're probably best placed to be able to use that data, as you say, that is unique to them, that has been collected or collated for decades now. And that's going to give them a real edge, I think, in the AI future as well, which potentially I would imagine is not necessarily appreciated by all of their shareholders, perhaps this lot as well. Okay, so that in Foxtons, our third property news of this week is about Reapit, and they're bringing a couple of their brands, or three of their brands together.
That's it. It's a bit of a clean sweep this week in the property news. We've got the portals for you at the start, and a little loving or love fest around the anti-love fest in there, and then a bit of Foxtons fit for me, and then onto my other old mob
They
with
on to Reapit, yeah, exactly.
and it's back down under as well. So this is one from it sort of hit the press in various places, but to take a step back. So when I headed down to Australia in 2018 as part of like post-management buyout, it was the CRM that we'd taken over there was the same one that the people in the UK use, RPS as it used to be known in the day. And as part of arriving in Australia, we acquired Agent Box, which was Australia's number one CRM, still is Australia's number one CRM, but from a CRM point of view, we mean sales CRM. So for real estate agents, and then more recently went on to acquire Console, which is the biggest property management CRM down there, and then IRE, which has had dabblings over here in the UK, but they were very much a front end lettings product. So if you're working in the Australian real estate space and New Zealand, you potentially had three separate Reapit products, one called Agent Box, one called Console, one called IRE, that synchronize things behind the scenes, but were a bit disjointed because they were ultimately three businesses. What the team have now done is relaunched them under a single brand with an app selector. So now you go to Reapit Australia, you've got a single unified user interface. You select which of the businesses is. So Agent Box is now Reapit Sales, Reapit Lettings, and Console's Reapit Property Management. So you're actually logging in, and that Reapit brand has been completely reforced. And it's a really slick looking piece of kit, and it's bringing everything together. I'm sure that will continue into the UK market with what we've all been used to before.
Yeah, and so is obviously RPS, you say, went over to Australia. Are they bringing that stuff back over here as well? So that
It's different. So the technologies that bring it all together are the same. So the foundations and the elements and the APIs that have worked there before. The RPS that we use in the UK, there's a lot of consistencies with it in terms of the platform, and people use the data warehouse and the single sign-on technology. That's across the entire group. But RPS is very much focused on it's not called RPS, and it was then called Agency Cloud, and now I think it's just called Reapit CRM. But that a different CRM tailored for sort of the UK and European market, as opposed to the technologies that are together in Australia and New Zealand.
Okay, so those bits, the letting stuff and all that, isn't coming across just now. That's not part of.
Some of the IRE bits are. So there's a thing called Reapit Bookings, which does front end a book of viewing, book evaluation, have it go directly into the agent's diaries, have the sort of efficiencies and automations around that. They're already here and being utilized by a lot of Reapit UK clients.
Yeah, nice one. Brilliant. All right, that is our property news for this week. It is time to move on to, yeah, our somewhat special AI and tech news. All right, it's been big this week, hasn't it, Matt? Something has landed that is huge.
Right before the weekend as well, just to really give us something to get our teeth stuck into over quite a rainy weekend, wasn't it? But
Was. It was.
what a way to spend your rainy weekend than playing with the new playing. Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah, it's like Christmas. Seriously.
ChatGPT, they named it ChatGPT Agent. It's out, it's ready, and you've played with it.
There, that is it. And just so that people don't get too freaked out, it's not a replacement for estate agents. It's just called agent. So agent as it will go and do your bidding. All right. So this is agent from ChatGPT. It is essentially a mashup of their deep research function, which we've spoken many times before, is just an awesome. It will you give it a task and it will go off and spend 15 minutes doing it and come back with an amazing answer. But also their operator system, which was the front end. You could actually see it going around the internet, clicking on buttons and all that sort of stuff. So what this now does is it allows you to give your ChatGPT a task, and you can then visibly watch it go off and perform that task. You can interrupt it halfway through and say, actually, do you know what? Stop doing that bit, or just pause a minute because I also want you to have a look at this over here, and it will go over there, and then it will come back and it will remember what it was doing. Once you start to think about what is possible here, this is why there is so much excitement slash and also concern around sort of entry level jobs, because this essentially is like your best ever intern who just gets it off the bat without too much explanation. And I've been playing around with it, as you said, all weekend, and it's kind of mind blowing. It's one of those things that is coming, and yet now it is here. It is just this is what we're going to be doing.
So,
There's no doubt anymore.
but for me, they pulled a bit of an Apple here in terms of the way that Apple wouldn't always release things first, but when they did release things, they would arrive and have done it much better than everybody. In terms of, we've spoken before on the show about Manus, and a lot of people I speak to know about Manus, which is the Chinese agentic that's been around probably for a good few months now, right?
Yeah, I think early last year. Yeah.
And I use it for various things. For example, with ASAP, we've been doing a bit of a review of conveyances in certain districts, and I was able to say to Manners, go off and find me 100 conveyances in each area, browse and find it, the pricing structures and terms and various other things, compile it all together and come back and give us some analysis. And Manners goes on and does it. And the fact that ChatGPT have now got agents that, as you say, takes on a deep research, which is a text-based browser, and the reasoning model. You've got Racer, which is the web-based browsing, so clicks and rounds and goes through the elements, does everything else, and then uses that whole clarifying question side of things. And I actually, over the weekend, used a scenario that they talked about during the launch, which is there's a wedding invite pinned to our fridge for something in Scotland in November. And I know that Kate's got her dress sorted. I've not even considered it because it's not even summer's still here, he says,
Not the day before,
as
right?
the rain pours down. But I took a couple of photos, one on the front, one on the back. I said, "There's the wedding invite. Go off and work out something for me to wear and source out a wedding present." It's able to take the information on that wedding invite, look at what the weather's going to be like, suss it out based on the venue. Clicked around the venue pictures, worked out it was really quite a smart place. We logged into the wedding invite website using the credentials on the invite, so it's able to browse in and do that, look at the gift list, and come back and package it all up and say, "Look, this is what we think you should be wearing. Here's some sort of situation," and point me at various places I could go off and just finalize the shop with. And to be able to do that just with a quick sort of bit of prompting and a couple of photos was incredible.
It's amazing. And for those people out there, many of you will be going away on holiday in the next coming weeks. Just go on to ChatGPT and just ask, and whether deep research or you can, if you can get onto agent, then on agent, and just ask it just to build an itinerary for you. Now, obviously, you don't have to do anything with it, but just to see the level of detail that it can get into, and what it asks you, will ask you the ages of your kids and stuff like that. It's just such a really powerful, yeah, concierge slash helper that is going to change how you make decisions going forward. And I think that is really how powerful this is. It will change how we make decisions because we will be so much better informed about everything.
And
Because
I don't think, and the reason this I said alluded to Apple and said how Apple always comes slightly later, but always came better along, is that ChatGPT is in so many people's pockets. It's being utilized by so many businesses already. Bring an agent into the mix, it means that you can interact with it via APIs and in your business logic that you might be doing already. And one of the points that we didn't touch on, we talked about deep research, talked about operator, but it's also got its own computer. And so to put this in a coding sense, it's got a terminal where it can write code, it can hit APIs, gather information via APIs, it can run scripts and code and actually then utilize it. So it's not just stuck browsing the web and doing other things. It can actually go away and get information. So if you have got a system that you're working with where the information is available but only via API, this agent can actually now go off and gather that information and bring it back. So looking at something like Dubai, all of the Dubai Land Department data is behind a set of APIs, and people can't easily get that when producing their area reports. Agent can now handle that for you.
yeah, and if that's not enough, it will also, using its connector services, it will actually go and attach itself to your diary, your calendar, and to your email and all that sort of stuff. And it will be able to inquire into various things that you're supposed to be doing and try to organize various logistical things and so on. So it is just yeah, this is a big move. And it comes literally weeks before we expect ChatGPT 5 to kind of land. So yeah, I think this is going to be, I think Sam Altman called it a hot AI summer.
He started it with a banger, didn't he? He said, "We've got a banger for you today." And I think he's
Banger,
absolutely right.
absolute banger. So yeah, look, as soon as it becomes more widely available, do go out and play around with it because you need to know what this can do, and what it can do is pretty damn awesome. All right, that is the first of our tech and AI news this week. And we wanted to touch again on a bit more AI news, which is around their advisory board. Now, this is a bit more kind of high level political, technical, but OpenAI has been trying to essentially take itself out of its not for profit entity and become something far more commercial. It has raised billions on the back of its opportunity to go and dominate the future of AI. But its original structure, which persists to this day, is that it is owned by a non-profit who and the non-profit's rules are that you should not pursue AI at the expense of humanity. Now, you can draw your own conclusions from the fact they're trying to change that. Try and get away from the don't worry about humanity stuff. Let's just look after humanity. But this is what their advisory board. So this advisory board, which was convened by OpenAI themselves, by Sam Altman, and has actually gone back to Sam Altman and said, "So I don't think you should really just go after the money because obviously AI is going to be super powerful and scary and stuff like that, and wait what Sam Altman is going to respond."
It's so interesting that the entity created to safeguard us all is now being challenged by the company that is put there to safeguard. It's like, I think I've seen this film before.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really dark. But yeah, but fair play to actually. If I'm Sam Altman and I've created this advisory board, I would probably assume that they were going to be reasonably kind of patsy, and I could just indicate what my preferred outcome was going to be. But they've come full on his full frontal and gone, "Nah, mate, actually, you're going to need to think about humanity first. But yes, his silence is quite damning right now, I think.
Not a banger to continue from the previous one.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm talking about ethics in AI. We have Meta. Now, think what you like about Mark Zuckerberg. He's obviously also been in the news recently for basically hiring everybody he possibly can from everywhere, paying them tens of millions of pounds, dollars, and giving them absolute tons of equity and whatever compute they need to join his new super intelligence unit. But he's also been refusing to sign the EU's AI Code of Practice, which is probably as much fun as it sounds. But the whole idea is that it actually helps, again, to regulate AI and make sure that it's not spiraling out of control.
And seems to be a bit of a continuation, or at least aligned with when Donald Trump got back into the White House and he ripped up a number of the AI governing legislations, wasn't it, to try to keep a track on how quickly people moved and how sensibly they did. And by saying, no, I'm not going to do that because you're going to try hold me to a safe code of working is a good continuation from the previous topic as well, wasn't it? It's like, if you're going to stop me doing bad things, I'm not willing to sign up to it. That's not what it says. You need to do your normal disclosure points. That is not what Zuck said, but it feels like that's the sort of, I want to play fast and loose with the AI and you're just trying to stop me.
Yeah, exactly. And there is, look, we talk often about all the opportunities and excitement about AI. Absolutely, there are risks, right? There is nobody can confidently say that they believe that alignment is absolute, and alignment is where. So this word alignment is being used to specify how we are going to train AI to be aligned with human concerns and humanity's desires. So if it slips away from alignment, then, we've all watched Terminator, right? There are potential issues going down the line. So that draw of money at all costs, progress at all costs has its dangers. Yeah, definitely. There is no getting away from that. But at the same time, those that are trying to just put some safeguards around
Rails.
what is happening are being thwarted at pretty much every turn right now. Yeah, I think, look, I genuinely believe that AI is going to be amazing for humanity in general, but it also obviously needs some, as you say, guardrails around it as well. So yeah, this just feels a little bit like, yes, some of the bigger guys are just pushing it and really pushing it. But the good news is that there is an EU AI code of practice. There is a advisory board at OpenAI. So there are people talking about the good stuff, and we'll see how it all plays out and whether actually these people are just going to ignore that, and then what that actually means from a regulatory point of view.
And that's obviously very high level, how the European government, how OpenAI are looking at dealing with and guardrailing against this. But there's actually an article released by Stanford University a couple of weeks back as well that only popped up in the press, which is snappily titled "What Workers Really Want from Artificial Intelligence," and it quite nicely follows on from what you were saying, because a lot of people think, well, is it coming from our jobs? Is it going to take over? Is it like turkeys voting for Christmas sort of situation? But actually, they did a really good job of, they interviewed people across thousands of people were interviewed as part of this, and there's a very good dissection of the data that puts people's concerns and people's thoughts around the AI usage into sort of amber zone, green zone, red zone, and low priority zone. And as you'd expect, green zone was things about getting AI to prepare my tax schedule for me, or putting in place checks and balances around quality control systems. So the very heavily administrative type processes, but with quite low risk. And then at the other end of the scale is the red zones for people being interviewed was around network support and specialists on computer networks. You want to make sure that's all working, not being left to the AI. We saw it. Was it last year or the year before where Microsoft's product was actually installed on its own servers? So when it was corrupted, it started corrupting its own servers, so it couldn't then fix themselves because no one could get onto the servers. Like, you can see the logic in not letting AI fiddle with the sort of the base layer, but then also around logistics, where if logistics goes wrong, it's pretty significant impact. So it's interesting to see we've got these very high level governments and courts thinking about it, but also the sort of the day-to-day risk appetite as well.
Yeah, and it is fascinating to see. I think, there's two sides to the positives are that absolutely people see this benefit in some of the more prosaic sort of administrative tasks, and they're able to want to switch those out. But yeah, as you say, as soon as it starts to get to there is a high risk of something not necessarily catastrophic, but certainly of huge impact financially to a business, then it's like we'd still rather have humans on that, please. And I think that's going to persist for quite some time as well. All right, so that's all the serious stuff out of the way. Let's talk about some real fluff. In tennis, so Wimbledon happened over the last couple of weeks, and there's been an influencer. There are many influencers, but this is a particular influencer called Mia Zelu, Zelu, who went viral at Wimbledon. She's been sitting around and promoting some products. She's been apparently sponsored by Pims and stuff. But it transpired later that actually, just like we were talking about the Velvet Sunday, the AI music people from last week or the week before, it turns out that guess what? She's an AI, doesn't exist. She's been superimposed on loads of Wimbledon photos, but she's got hundreds of thousands of followers now just because she was at Wimbledon, apparently. So yeah, it kind of goes to show that there's still this ability for AI to bamboozle us with some images that we can't tell the difference whether it's true or not.
Yeah, now I've seen. I know we've got another one of those in the weird AI of the week this show, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Absolutely. Stay tuned for Weird AI of the Week occasional series. So, yeah, so that's one of the fluffy things. Also, Netflix is starting to use Gen AI in its shows and films. Now, there is apparently an Argentinian regular kind of soap that happens on a weekly basis. And Netflix is starting to add AI scenes into it. For example, exploding cars, rather than actually go to the trouble, making little toy cars explode and filming them. So you can just get AI to do it. So at this point, they don't seem to be touching the human actor levels that are going to trigger loads of strikes and stuff like that. But yeah, if you are a specialist, an explosion specialist on films and stuff like that, then this is your job.
That's it. And then we saw the Oscars announced, didn't they, earlier this year that they're going to allow AI content in as part of the awards, which is a good thing because June 2 had quite a lot of AI scenes in it. But the fact Netflix is going down this route, similar to Channel 4 last week with the adverts,
Yeah,
more mainstream all the time, isn't it?
100%. Yes. So stay tuned for a lot more AI action, literally, in your action films. So, just wanted to cover off a big story about business in AI. So, Lovable, which is from Sweden, it becomes a unicorn. A unicorn is basically a business that is valued at over $1 billion. And just in 8 months, with 45 members of staff, it has become a $1 billion company, which is absolutely phenomenal.
And it's that rapidity to the unicorn status alongside that number of employees that's really impressive, isn't it? I know with AI, we've been talking about the number of, is it Midway or Runway, one of the two, Midjourney or Runway, one of the two has also got a sort of a 40 odd
Yeah,
employees. Not saying the employees are odds, although I'm sure they are, but it's so much smaller. And we're waiting now to see who's going to be the first unicorn with just a sole employee with the way people are using agents to help them build their companies out.
that's the game, isn't it? Yeah. So anybody out there listening in who fancies themselves becoming the first $1 billion solopreneur, then you better get your skates on because it's going to happen pretty soon.
That's it. And then once you get there, you'll be an acqui-hire for Meta more than likely.
That's right. Zach is watching you. All right, that is our AI and tech news of this week. We are now going to dive very quickly into our AI tool of the week. All right, no surprises here because there's nothing else. It's OpenAI's ChatGPT agent. That is the thing that you must be trying to use this week, please. It is going to phenomenally change how you perceive what is possible. So yeah, as soon as you possibly can. I think it's coming to the $20 ChatGPT Plus, I think it's called, soon. So yeah, this week, hopefully, get your hands on it. Click on, so when you drop it down underneath where you've your prompt, and it will allow you to choose agent, do a property search, ask it who the best estate agent is in your area, see what happens, because it is astonishing. And it will, yes, it will change everything. All right, that's AI tool of the week. We are going to dip into weird AI of the week only because I've got a little story. So I was looking just really boringly for some trousers for my son and came across this site called Dave and Carter. Now it was high up Google. Dave and Carter, And it said that it's closing down after 20 years. Very sad. They've tried their best. It's real that they wanted to give to the community, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, so everything's like got 50% off and it's just crazy prices. So I was literally about to buy some trousers. And then I was looking at the About Us page, and it's got an old guy and his wife. And my son went, "Oh, that's an AI picture." And obviously, I work in AI. I spent a lot of time immersed in AI. I'm like, oh yeah, that is, isn't it? So anyway, we did a bit of digging using DIA, which is the web browser that I use that's AI powered. So I just asked Dia, I said, look, this site, when was it registered? They were obviously like saying about how they're 20, trying to serve everybody, blah. And it said this site is registered in December 2024. So literally, I was about to be mugged off by this clothes that are probably worth about tenner, and they were saying down from 60 quid to 35. I'm like, yeah, they look great. So yeah, this is everywhere. We need to be worried.
It's a slick website, though, isn't it? They've even got a man walking towards the video in a sort of a Peaky Blinders style, which
Yeah.
I'm guessing watching it now is actually AI as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So
You could be wearing
honestly,
those trousers, man.
mate, seriously, and I would still feel like vindicated slash like I got a bargain, even though it's obviously something they got from Temu or Sheen for about a fiver. But yeah, no, honestly, have a look, Dave and Carter, just so that you familiarize yourselves with what a really good fake AI website looks like, because it is really good from that perspective, and it's really bad ethically, and you need to be aware of it and be mindful of it and make sure you don't get fooled by it, like I nearly was.
There is a mobile number on there, Mal. You should give them a call. Or maybe get agents to give them a call.
Maybe, yeah, maybe I'll get my AI to do that. Because yeah, I'm sure that it will get an AI in response, and maybe they'll start talking their weird AI language. Brilliant. All right, so that's our weird AI of the week, and that is all we have for this week. Thank you so much for listening in, and it's good to be back to our usual regular time as well, Matt. And hopefully we'll be able to continue this regularity for a little while, asterisk pending holidays. But yeah, listen, thanks so much for listening in. Great to catch up with everybody. Good to see you too, Matt.
Yes, likewise, Mal. Are you heading off on the road again in the morning?
Yes, I think it's glamorous Luton. It might be tomorrow. Obviously, very much looking forward to that. But yeah, listen, thanks so much again this week for listening in. We will catch up with you again next week when there will be plenty more, I am sure, AI and property news to catch up on. All the best. Thanks very much. Catch up soon.
Great week, everyone.
Cheers. Take care.